So I know I'm a young upstart who's filming in a bedroom, but hear me out. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I want to say, is probably the greatest thing ever created in J.K. Rowling's universe. It's got great characters, great actors, great story, great effects, but one of the things I think really shone about it was the great antagonists. Like, seriously, I think I counted 6. I know the main one everyone thinks about is Grindelwald, but I want to ask the question, is he the real villain? I'm the Flighty Fairy. I flip from one fandom to another, and today I want to talk about one of the least popular aspects of one of the most popular fandoms on the planet, Harry Potter. Or should we say Newt Scamander? Regardless, let's get started. Whether or not Grindelwald is the main antagonist of the movie is not to be debated. He's the one who has the greatest showdown at the end of the movie and with the big reveal, and he's the one who goes head to head with most of the main characters. But are antagonist and villain the same thing? The way we use it, antagonist means a hostile force towards the main character, whose job is basically to make life difficult for them. The villain, however, is the person who the main problem of the story revolves around. Not every story has a villain, and not all of them even have an antagonist. For what is kind of hard to tell, I compiled a list of criteria necessary for an antagonist in a story. Number 1, they have to do bad things. This is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's basically the premise for just about every villain, antagonist, anti-hero, or generally not nice person. I mean, you don't normally have an antagonist who's just like the picture of perfect unless it's a story about a criminal running from the law, and in that case, just about everything is twisted. Number 2, they have to oppose the hero. This one is catered more towards antagonists and villains as they are the driving obstacles in the plot. For example, Big Hero 6. Professor Callahan opposes the hero, whose name happens to be Hero, by trapping them in an underground building and harassing him and the other main characters with his microbots. This is also where it gets a little difficult distinguishing antagonists from just kind of jerks in the story. Number 3, the audience has to either dislike them or love to hate them. Also a very gray area. Usually in stories, if someone does something bad, the audience will dislike them for it. But lately it's been like this thing where villains can't just be black and white. They usually have some kind of justification for their actions. And sometimes the reasons are so justified that the audience will even forgive them for everything in light of this realization. Like, I don't know, killing your mother because she beat you your whole life. Stupid gray areas. Anyway, now that we have the groundwork, we can start looking at who the real villain of Fantastic Beasts might actually be. I differentiate villain from antagonist because an antagonist is more of a story element, while the villain is like the main instigator of everything bad in the plot. For the record, I'm only looking at Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, not any of the sequels or long-running story arcs. Should probably get into this now, I have so much build-up. Okay, so now we have the 5 or so potential other villains in Fantastic Beasts. Just so you know, I won't be including characters like President Pickery or Mr. Bingley, the bank teller guy, because although the audience doesn't like them, they never really do anything specifically wrong. So that leaves us with Narlac, the wily goblin business dealer that Newt and Tina negotiate with and are eventually betrayed by. Yeah, he definitely grabs hold of the last criteria. Does he do bad things? Yes, well, if you include alerting Makuza to their wrongly accused ex-convicts' whereabouts for profit a bad thing, I can say with certainty that I do. And he opposes the hero by doing said things, so he meets all the criteria. The reason I don't consider Narlac to be the real villain is because he's just not important enough to the story. Like, he literally only appears in that one scene. If he were a more prominent character in the movie, I would probably have to award this video to him because I don't think any of the others have all the villain criteria down so well. Moving on, Henry Shaw. Like, this Henry Shaw, not this Henry Shaw. Does he do bad things? If you count turning some other main characters away from his newspaper and being kind of grouchy, yes. That one's tricky. Of course, 2 of those main characters are also on the potential villains list, so wait. Spoiler warning! He doesn't really oppose the hero Newt Scamander, so that one's out the window. But he is definitely disliked. I mean, I didn't really like him. And guess what? He appeared in more than one scene! That's really the only reason why he's included on this list. So, Henry Shaw Jr. Now we're at this guy. Disclaimer, he's not the real villain because he doesn't oppose the hero. but he does do worse things than his father. I do think he pays for it by, dying and stuff. This is where it gets really interesting, and if you're still watching, you probably want me to get on with it as opposed to talking about characters who obviously aren't the main villain. The next character on the list is none other than Credence Barebone. Please don't roast me. I honestly surprised myself by putting him on this list, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt like I had to. I mean, this is a main character who makes or breaks the film. You either love him or you hate him. I love him, he's a great character. But I think in the fog of watching his horrible life and feeling sorry for him, we kind of forget that he does some really bad things in the film. Like killing two people bad. I know what you're going to say, it wasn't his fault. Or was it? Back when Henry Shaw Jr. made that mean comment about the second Salemers to Credence, you didn't see much of a reaction from him at the time. But not long afterwards, we see the Obscurus seek out and specifically target Henry Shaw at a banquet. Like, literally flies in, kills Henry Shaw, and then flies out, destroying a few tables in the process. At first, when I didn't know that Credence was the Obscurial, spoilers, but seriously, you guys should know that, I didn't think much of this scene, but afterwards it's occurred to me that this was probably Credence's unique way of getting revenge. We know from New and the end of the movie that the Obscurus will just build up energy until the host becomes emotionally unstable and then lashes out in a haphazard, destructive sort of way. If this is so, then the attack on Henry Shaw had to be a lot more than just the Obscurus's doing. Obscurus says. Anyway, that's what I thought until looking up Obscurial on Harry Potter Wiki. It says there that the Obscurus will mainly lash out at the person or thing causing the host the emotional stress. Henry Shaw, in this case, though it got me wondering, how did Mary Lou Barebone survive for so long? This led me to the conclusion that a lot of other people have come up with before, including the Super Carlin brothers if you want to watch their videos. Credence must have some sort of control over his Obscurus. That is the only way to explain Henry Shaw's death and Mary Lou's survival for so long. It even explains how he lived so long while still being an Obscurial. So we have the first criteria down, but what about the others? Opposing the hero, well, does destroying half of New York count? This one's really tough, especially considering how sympathetic New is towards Credence. But does the audience dislike him? Well, I've talked to a lot of people, and in describing Credence, they all use the words creepy, freaky, or weird in their first sentence. I think we can all agree that the filmmakers put a lot of effort into making him appear odd. Like I said, Credence is a character who you either love or hate, and it basically just all depends on how much credit you give him for his actions and behavior and how much you feel sorry for him. So does the audience dislike him? It depends. This one was really tough for me because it seems like Credence is too far gone to be in the good guys pile, but too likable to be in the bad guys pile. It's too bad, but I just couldn't in good conscience leave this video calling him the real villain. So I was forced to see if there was anyone who fit the bill more properly. It's too bad there isn't another character in the whole movie who's an antagonist and chain reacts the whole story. Okay, I'm pretty sure everyone saw this coming, but the real villain of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is none other than Mary Lou Barebone. Think about it. She meets all the requirements, does bad things, beats her children for doing virtually nothing, opposes the hero by running a witch hunting society, and is disliked by the audience. Because I'm not really sure how you could like her. I mean, let's be honest, Credence was the only one crying when she died. And let's not forget that she basically instigated the whole movie. When Gellert Grindelwald went undercover as Percival Graves, he was searching for the Obscurus that was plaguing the city. But Flighty Fairy, Credence was the Obscurial, right? Well, yeah, but who caused that, I wonder? That's right. And Newt was only going to stay in New York a very short time before going on to Arizona. The only reason he stayed was because of Grindelwald, disguised as Graves, who sentenced him to death for killing a man with an Obscurus, and we all know where that came from. The only reason Newt and Tina met was because Tina was watching the second Salem rant by Mary Lou Barebone. Yeah, the whole movie was her fault, not that I'm complaining. Mary Lou Barebone is the real villain of Fantastic Beasts. I hope you enjoyed this very long, very complicated video that you probably only came to watch the last 2 minutes of. If you're still here and you liked it, be sure to like the video. And if you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. And tell me if you have any Fantastic Beasts theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Later, villain fans.